relax and then you will go away. I'm not gonna be begging you to stay. Said maybe if you, I would handle this differently. Things are different, I'm a new me. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. So even if you're asking, even if you're asking, 'cause I do what I do, and it's time for something new. Yeah, gotta know when to let go. Let go. Gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow. Can make you grow. Can make you grow. Don't wanna be stuck in a spot, telling you it ain't what I thought. Don't wanna be stuck in a spot, 'cause I don't really like what I got, so I changed it bit by bit. It's not ungrateful, just being helpful for me and you. 'Cause we gotta go our own way, gotta go our own way. Yeah. This was not a good stay, gotta go our own way. 'Cause I do what I do, and it's time for something new. Yeah, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow. I don't appreciate the chase. Now there's nothing here for me. I gotta go, I'll fly away to a new space. You know, I don't appreciate the chase. Now there's nothing here for me. I gotta go, I'll fly away to a new space. 'Cause gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow. Sometimes. Gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go, gotta know when to let go. Sometimes giving up can make you grow, can make you grow, can make you grow.
In the right place to move, in the right place with you. Always stay up all night, watch the neon light. Touch your ones echo numb, heartbeats like a drum. Feed a fantasy, give yourself to me. Stay in this moment, just hold on, hold on. We like tonight, babe, tomorrow it's gone. You in the moonlight, it's all that I want. It's all that I want, it's all. We can touch the sky, babe, it's a natural high. I know I'm alright when I look into your eyes. Give it to me funky, funky, give it to me. Give it to me funky, funky, give it to me. Give it to me funky, funky, give me that beat, that funky, funky. Give it to me funky, funky, give me that beat, that funky, funky. Give it to me funky, funky, give it to me. Give it to me funky, funky, give it to me, baby. Face towards the stars, feel my beating heart all up in
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Generation Orange. I'm your host, Mark Segovia, alongside my co-host, Sean Ringos. What's up, Sean?
Oh, another day in paradise over here. How about you?
It's going good, man. It's going good, man. A lot of people, on the chat prior to us getting on right now, really excited, have a lot of excitement in there. I can feel the excitement after, typing on their keyboards or texting on through their Twitch chat, whatever. I can feel the excitement through the keyboard. That's what I want to say. A lot of good things, man. Dynamo won, first win of the season. Quintero brace, new signing. A lot of good things happening for the Dynamo right now at this week, and then obviously we got our first 7-1-3 night coming up this Saturday night against Colorado Rapids. So, we're expecting a decent crowd over there, especially, coming after a win and, things like that. So, but before we get on into all that, Sean, how you doing, man? Everything's good with you as far as, work and all that stuff?
I gotta remember to click that other mute button. We got 3 active responses right now at work, so it is kind of crazy right now. Not gonna lie. I literally was working last night at 8:30, and today was still working at about 6 o'clock. So amazing, I made it, but my brain is pretty mushy. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have business. Don't get me wrong. It's good to be needed and wanted, but I'm definitely looking forward to like 2 to 3 weeks from now when things start to peter back off and slow down. That's what I'm looking forward to.
No, yeah, man. I mean, obviously, Sean, we not just myself, but I know everybody on the chat really appreciates the dedication you have, to this. Obviously, Generation Orange was done way before I got here, and it's been doing really well, and you're always available to do this and things of that nature, so we really appreciate the fact that, even though sometimes you're tired and, got a lot of stuff going on, you take the time out to do it and join us up on the Wednesdays, man. But, with that being said, guys, man, the Dynamo won. And it wasn't just a simple little win, 1-0, whatever. It's 2-1 win against Vancouver Whitecaps, like we said. Bangers. I think a potential MLS goal of the week. We know Darwin Quintero made the MLS team of the week. Just a lot of good things going on, like I said. But, guys, obviously, there's a lot of things going on, as far as, with the Dynamo and stuff like that. I just want to recap a little bit from the Whitecaps game a little bit, and go position by position. Obviously, last week we had a poll question of the day, and we asked about the midfield, if the midfield needed to change. And a lot of y'all obviously agreed that the midfield needed to change. And guess what? They listened to us. They listened to us, guys, and go ahead with all that offense that was available that game. With Darwin and Coco starting over Memo and Seren. A lot of offensive, a lot of attacking football, they were motivated. I think that game, though, you can see the players just having fun, especially Darwin, especially Quintero. He looked like he was a young man out there just having fun playing, like he used to back in the days in his backyard or whatever. But with that being said, a lot of people have the question of whether, how does Darwin continue starting? How many minutes does he play? This and that. I know I replied to somebody on Twitter, and I forget who I replied to. It might have been Dynamo Fan TV, who joined us last week as a guest, and we'll have another guest this week as well. We'll let you know later on who it is. But with that being said, yeah, man, Darwin's 34 years old, but with this new age and this new, technology and how players recover quicker and things like that, players are lasting longer, even the ones who are running around, doing most of the work and all that stuff. I know before, the stigma was, once a player gets mid 30s and obviously on the wrong side of 30, it's the stigma or the stereotype was that they're washed up already. They're ready for their career to go downhill. And like I said, it might be one game, but man, Darwin Quintero did not look like he was on a downhill trend. Sean, what are your thoughts about Quintero's performance this past Saturday?
It's funny because I genuinely kept saying I want Darwin Quintero to be kind of that super sub for the season, but After watching him last week, I can definitely see where having him starting a match, and again, I think to your point to some extent, yeah, players are lasting longer, but I also think there's a huge difference lasting longer, for a guy like a Ronaldo or, even to some extent Lionel Messi. These guys keep themselves in absolute peak physical condition, forever, more or less. But even if you look at like Minor Figueroa, that's a guy from the, the Caribbean, Honduras and Central America. Sorry, not Caribbean, Central America. And he's still out there playing. He was getting a look by Inter Miami. So, I agree with you that I think Darwin Quintero at this point in the season definitely should be starting. But I also think there is something to be said for being able to bring a player off the bench in the 60th, 65th minute, knowing that you only have to have Quintero give you that 60 to 65 minutes and not a full, 75 to 80 or even 90 minutes about that. So that definitely, I think, helps for sure.
Yeah, man. And obviously, Quintero had a fantastic game and obviously all praises to him being a part of the MLS team of the week and being up for MLS goal of the week. But let's not forget the other midfielder who came on, in replace of Darwin Quintero, Coco Carasquilla. His performance, even though, you won't see his performance on a stat sheet, obviously there's no goals, there's no assists, but I think the fact that he was able to penetrate the defense and keep the ball movement up forward and be able to transition from defense into offense is what helped a player like Darwin, be able to get open, be able to catch that ball on the rebound, be able to go up there and supply the passes needed to Sebas and to Baird and to Fafa as well. So, I mean, it's great to see a little bit of a connection between the midfield and the front three, because obviously the first two games we saw very minimal of that. So, shout out to Coco Carasquilla as well. He had a great game. Any thoughts on him?
Man, that's a Coco that I want to see more of and more consistently. Coco was the assist that he had, or the second assist, I guess, because technically Baird got it and then passed it off to Darwin. But that ball to get it up to Baird it was crisp, it was clean, it was perfect. And I need to see more of that, because that's the one thing that, and I kept saying it, that's the one thing that we're missing to unlock our offense, is that player that can make those switches of play out wide to the other side and do it with a ball that is driven, not a ball that is floated like what Memo likes to do, which is float the ball over there. He drove it over there and gave Baird the perfect opportunity to pass it off to Quintero for an easy tap-in. It was a beautiful goal.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. And even though I think Corey Baird got the credit for the assist on Darwin's first goal, I want to say that he's probably the weakest player on that pitch for that day. Do you agree, or do you have somebody else you want to nominate as far as the weakest player?
I think that's probably fair, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, a win's a win, especially for us Dynamo fans, where they've come too far.
I can't give it to Baird this game. I can't. Weakest player on the pitch for me this week was Sebas. He had a open opportunity at goal effectively, and he just scuffed it horribly. And I just, there were a couple of times where he had opportunities at goal and just couldn't find it. One he kind of shot right at the goalkeeper, then one that went wide. That was frustrating, man. It was really frustrating to watch.
I understand that, and maybe I would have chose Sebas too, but I think the reason why I didn't is because this is the first game where he's actually been involved and got involved with his midfield and got passes. So maybe he's kind of a little bit off the beat right now, especially because he only got 2 touches in the first 2 games, and he literally almost tripled or quadrupled that in this past Saturday. So, but yeah, it's just, for me, obviously we want to applaud the whole team for the win and, and all that stuff. But obviously the Dynamo in front office with Pat and Ash and them and those guys up there are still doing work to try to make the team a lot better, because there's still points on our team that are still a little fairly weak and things like that. And obviously with the signing that they made yesterday, which we'll talk bases on here in a bit, they kind of noticed that, the winger position is kind of light. and we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, I don't know, especially from the game, from what I saw from him against SKC, where he was like non-existent, and then obviously this game, you know, he did get the assist, but aside from that, I didn't really see much from Baird, especially this is a player that they invest a lot of GAM into to bring him over from LAFC. And unfortunately for him, obviously he had the big injury last season where he didn't really play. I think he only played like 2 or 3 games for us last season. So he still might be coming back from that. So, you know, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, obviously the Dynamo have an objective for the season, and they can't give too much benefit of doubt to these players because they want to make a stamp this season. That I see that front office. I see Ted, Pat, Asher. They want to make sure that the Dynamo team is in a position to be competitive and make a run for a playoff spot. You know, I know as a Dynamo fan supporter, and you too, Sean. I mean, it's something that we've been wanting for the last, you know, since 2017, obviously, right? And it's been and crazy. You blink your eye, and it's been 5 years already. So, thoughts?
Yeah. No, not really. Not on that particular topic. I really don't. Like, I think you kind of said it all on that one.
Yeah. So, you know, so let's talk about the signing that we got in, man. I mean, obviously somebody that a lot of people have heard of, a lot of rumors around and swirling around with the Dynamo, and we finally got it done. But before we get to that, let's get to the poll question of the day, if you don't mind, Sean. And obviously that was, per sources, you know, young Brazilian player Dinguinho has signed on with the Dynamo on a loan, but, you know, with a reported $1.5 million fee to purchase to buy if the Dynamo decide to pick up that option. What are your expectations for the former Flamengo player? And the choices were Dyna Dos mainly, first team sub, eventual starter this year, or Mateo Bahamic part 2. And the results of this poll question today were actually our tightest of the season up to this point, and with 35% of the votes, eventual start of the season. And Dyna Dos mainly is it comes in last place. Sean, your thoughts on it? What do you think he'll end up being for us this season?
Yeah, I actually voted in the poll, and I will tell you that my selection there was, basically a sub, a sub guy, backup guy, depth guy. I kind of mentioned that also on the Gen Orange count. To me, he looks like a guy who, comes in with plenty of promise, plenty of potential, but he's also a guy that needs to get acclimated to MLS. You kind of called that out a little bit yourself. He needs to get acclimated to his teammates. So I don't project him to be a player that comes in and immediately supplants Baird, or definitely not supplanting Fafa at this point. But I project that he's going to be a player that's going to need a little bit of time just to get kind of situated and acclimated. And then from there, who knows? But, the talent is there. He's just got to put a few things together. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I said in one of the comments on here, and I'll give shout out to Roberto Romero who asked the question, or who replied, and I told him, Corey Baird isn't lining it up, and Pasher is kind of injury prone. So depending on what Pasher is, obviously, Fafa I think is cemented as a starter, but and depending on how quickly he can adapt to the league and adapt to the culture change and adapt to his teammates will probably prove whether, how soon Pablo gives this kid an opportunity, because, I don't think the Dynamo are in a position to just sign players just to sign players, just to sign them for, just for whatever reason, The Dynamo are looking to players who are going to come in and help this season, because this season is to be a season where we're not at the bottom of the standings. And I think this kid's going to have every opportunity given to him to be able to do that. Now, will he be our starter here and here out? I mean, if he is, that means he's doing a great job. So I'm hoping he does. But I can see where he might be, one of the first guys off the bench, until he gets, more experience or he picks up the speed of the game here in MLS. But like I said, he doesn't have anybody in front of him that is going to really not allow him to get that opportunity, unless Corey Baird just starts lining it up, or unless Tyler Pasher comes in and we see the Pasher that we saw the first 6-7 games from last season and then not get injured. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, and I'm really interested to see what this player brings. I think there was a lot of hype around him as a young player when Flamengo first signed him from I don't remember the Brazilian team that they signed him from, but obviously Flamengo is one of the top South American clubs in the world, in South America, and not just in Brazil. Competing for Copa Libertadores and competing, Club World Cups and stuff like that as well. And that team is stacked. So there's a reason why a player like that is available to us. So hopefully, we take advantage of that. He's able to find that skill level and that reasoning for what reason why Flamengo signed him in the first place.
Yeah, Julio says it was Nautical. Oh, it says
Nautical. Yeah. For some reason, I was like, I knew, I thought I remember to combine it with something. I think I combined it with Nautica, the brand, but I couldn't remember it at the moment. I was like, I know it's a clothing brand, but I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, man. So what are your thoughts about everybody? There's a quite a bit of people thinking that he's going to be Bahamut 2.0, and the thing is, and I kind of felt bad putting that. I mean, obviously, I think Sean and a lot of people know my stance on Mateo Bahamut. I even though technically he was a bust and a failure because, he wasn't given any time. And then, obviously the coach that was here prior, and Tad Ramos, wasn't giving him any opportunity and kept putting the same players and getting the same results. And that's the reason why he's not the coach of the Dynamo anymore. But what do you think, Sean? I mean, as far as that Bahamut 2.0 kind of stigma maybe tagged to him at this early point of him being signed like this?
Yeah, I think there's every possibility that could happen, but I think we also have to remember that the advantage to this type of move is if the player is a Bahamut, it doesn't hurt you. You're out 6 months with the player at most. Like, he's a loan with an option to buy, loan for the rest of the season with an option to buy is what's projected out there. To be what was agreed to. And it was 1.5 million option to buy. So if he is a Bahamut 2.0, I mean, it's not a huge deal. I know that people think because Pat kept saying that, we have more signings to come, it's a thing that they're anticipating this kid being the next whatever. But the fact is they're not necessarily anticipating that. Otherwise, they'd probably pay more for him. But even though they didn't pay more for him, again, he does have the potential. He has the talent and the capability. There's no doubt about that. But having basically spent nothing to get him on a loan for the rest of this season and having the option to buy at only $1.5 million, I mean, maybe the kid comes in and he doesn't score any goals, but he creates 3 or 4 assists in the next 20 some odd matches that he gets to play in. Hey, I'm fine with that. That's a decent signing, for MLS. And so, yeah, so if I take a look at it, I say this is the type of signing that I hope we see a little bit more of, just from the aspect of I like these low risk, high reward potential type moves that don't really have high risk to them because your salary budget provides opportunities if you do it right for this kind of thing. The most expensive part of this guy right now is not his contract, it's the international slot we're using on him. If we're being realistic, I mean, that's a $250,000, GAM thing right now. Teams are trading $250,000 in GAM for an international slot right now. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see, but at the same time, I think we have to remember this is also a different regime. Look, Pat and Paulo and Asher are doing a bang up job. Ted has been willing to put the money in. They've got a real scouting department now. It's no longer just Matt Jordan looking at Transfer Market and Football Manager and FIFA and going, oh, that player looks like he's going to be great because he's got a wonderful left foot, but nothing else. So, I come back to this point, but, it's a low risk move and you have to do those in our position as a club where we don't yet have the youth players coming up that are quite ready to contribute. You've got to go out there and you've got to go for a few, low risk, high value players.
Yeah, and I agree completely. I mean, like I said, obviously he's going to fill a U22 spot as well. So yeah, I guess that's the most expensive part about it. The fact that he fills up one of those spots. And then, like you said, he will be taking up an international spot.
No, so let me correct that. A U22 initiative slot, the budget for that, or the salary hit for that is $150,000 over the entire year, or maybe it's $200,000 as the max. So yeah. He's not it sounds like a lot because we think of DPs as being this huge number, when in reality, that's even less than, like I said, the most expensive part of this player right now is not his contract. It's his international slot that he's taking up. So yeah. It's not, it's not going to be, I don't think it's one of those things that we can look at those U22 players and immediately assume that, you know, if they bust out, that was the worst move we could have made. You know, a lot of them I think ultimately are going to be kind of hit or miss, because you're going to go after these younger players that have high potential, but maybe still need to work out some things, and you're hoping that you can help them work through them. You're going to miss on some of those. That's just how it is in soccer.
No, for sure. But, you know, obviously as a Dynamo fan, Dynamo supporter, I hope that he comes in with guns blazing, and, you know, obviously having Paulo speak Portuguese and then having another Brazilian in Seca should make it a little bit easier as far as the transition from Brazil to America.
And I will note that may have played a little bit in why they went Thiaguinho instead of, say, a different player at that position right now, because of that potential connection that he can form and that partnership he can form along that right side with him and Seca. And that may have also been another reason to bring Seca in. If they knew that they were going to land this deal or had a fairly good feeling that they were going to be able to get this over the line, and Seca was in a position where if we can do that, that creates a player, you know, creates an opportunity for this player to adapt a little bit easier, because now you have somebody who speaks the language, somebody who understands the culture differences, somebody who can help you transition through that process a little bit easier, somebody who's also a veteran soccer player of a number of years who can help you understand the game better. I just think there's a lot of pluses that we can offer because of that Seca move. And that just has advantages that just ripple throughout the team by doing something like that. And we would have never seen that under Trash Jordan.
No, for sure. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, we're looking forward to seeing the kid play, and hopefully he comes in with the ball rolling and shows a little bit of that Jogo Bonito here in Houston and H-Town. So we'll see what happens. But guys, you know, I know a lot of questions about, you know, the team and who's going to line up this Saturday against Colorado. Will Teenage finally start? Will Seca finally start a right back over Griffin, Dorsey, and things like that? Sean, do you think any of those two guys get the starting nod this Saturday over Daniel Steres and Griffin Dorsey?
Teenage got his first sub minute, so I think that he's probably going to be a potential sub again. It's hard to say, you know, not being out at practice with these guys, not being out at practice and getting to talk to Paulo. You know, it's difficult, but I think if Paulo genuinely believes that Teenage is ready, then he will start him. I think he understands that, in his opinion, I think even at this point, Teenage is a better option than Daniel Steres. He just knows that Daniel Steres right now is the more full 90 ready player.
Yeah, I mean, and shout out to Daniel Steres. I mean, you know, obviously he's an MLS veteran who came from the Galaxy and understands the league, and he understands, you know, that, you know, given the opportunity he's been given right now, you know, take the bull by the horns and, you know, and make it hard for Teenage to get a starting spot back. I think he's done a fairly good job, a very solid job, honestly, back there with Tim Parker, only giving up 2 goals. 2 goals in 3 games. So that's a very strong starting point for those two guys. But the right back position has always been the big question, because, you know, obviously we had Valentin and obviously Paulo moved Griffin Dorsey over there to give a little bit more speed and a little bit more of an attacking influence to that position. And now we signed Seca. Do you think Seca gets his first start as a Dynamo player?
I don't. I think he's kind of in the same position as Teenage in terms of, you know, match fitness, readiness, and that kind of thing. I think we see another probable substitution opportunity here in this match against Colorado, you know, maybe 65th minute, kind of roughly the same. I think it was 75th last week, but 65th minute I think seems fair. And, you know, you're getting to bring these players on when the opposition is a little bit tired. You know, they've been running against fresh legs, and then you bring out fresh legs again. You know, and so they're worn down a little bit, and you give Seca the opportunity to play against tired legs on defense. That's a recipe for potential opportunities for sure.
Yeah, for sure. George in the chat says DP center back on the bench makes me sick, though. I mean, you know, it's an unfortunate thing, you know, with the MLS calendar, and then obviously Teenage representing Zimbabwe and the AFCON Tournament of Champions, whatever, this past January. So it kind of backtracked him a little bit as far as catching up with the squad and the players and building that chemistry to try to, you know, better improve themselves. And like I said, the Dynamo have an objective this year where they want to start off the season guns blazing. You know, they don't want to drop points. They don't want to have mediocre performances. They don't want to have moral wins. No, they need points. They want wins. So by the time, you know, Ache and whoever else comes in through the summer, you know, can help hopefully propel the team into a playoff spot. I think Teenage will get his opportunity to obviously, if you spend that much money on a player like that, especially if you have him under the DP label, he's obviously a player who should be first off on the team. One of the first names written on the team sheet. But, obviously because of the offseason that he had, and with the good job that Daniel Stairs is doing currently, you're kind of worried as a coach to be like, okay, look, it's not broken yet. Let me run with this for a moment. But I know I have an ace in my back pocket once I need it. But yeah, man, obviously, it's going to be an interesting matchup this Saturday, with Colorado and all that stuff. But before we move along, Colorado themselves, obviously they're a team that a lot of people don't really speak too much about. They're kind of like RSL, those Mountain West clubs don't really get spoken about too highly, right? Colorado Rapids obviously coming back with one of our old assistant coaches, Pablo Mascheroni, as their head coach, who they hired and who was one of the coaches that the Dynamo wanted to hire before they settled on Paulo. What do you think about Colorado Rapids and what they bring to the table in this upcoming Saturday?
Colorado to me now is in a very bad position because Abubakar had a knee injury that took him out for the season. And if you remember back last year when we played Colorado towards the end of the season, the biggest thing we struggled with, or the player that we struggled the most against, was actually Abubakar. Him getting forward and also his ability to defend, but mostly him getting forward. So you take Abubakar out of that lineup, and it's a major difference when it comes to Colorado. The other thing is obviously they don't have Acosta anymore. That's a major change for them. I just think that Colorado at this point are a very beatable team, especially here at home for the Dynamo. And I kind of like our chances if we go out and play just like we did against Vancouver. I very much like our chances of taking 3 points away.
But obviously, we know Costa got traded to LAFC and Michael Anthony Kay came back on the other side. And Michael Anthony Kay, I mean, he's no slouch. He's no slouch of a player either. I mean, he's a Canadian international doing really good things with Canada and stuff like that. And he's kind of solidified that midfield for Colorado as well. Michael Barros is somebody else who we know obviously far too well with his time with FC Frisco, is another player who attacks the ball and can put the ball in the back of the net. And obviously they came off a very disappointing CCL opening game, where they lost at home in that record game of snowball, where they just penalty after penalty after penalty after penalty. Nobody would score a penalty. And unfortunately for them, they got the short end of the stick. But like Julio stated in the chat, I mean, for the next 5 games are at home, and we need to take advantage of these home games, these early home games that we're getting, because even though we're getting a lot of home games back to back, what does that mean? That means we get a lot of away games later on in the calendar, which makes it tough because obviously we all know as Dynamo fans, road points are very hard to come by. So we need to make sure we protect home. We're not just getting points, but we're winning the games and winning them very comfortably. And I think that the Dynamo can really pull off a nice win over Colorado. I mean, especially with the momentum that they have going, especially with the play that they had last week. My question to you: do you think you get the same lineup again this week?
I think we do. I very much think we do.
Yeah. So I mean, Darwin. Oh well, before we speak about Darwin. I got to give a shout out to one of the players that I know that really doesn't get too much praise on this show. Memo Rodriguez came on as a super sub, did a really good job for the last 25 minutes of the game. Obviously, almost scored the third goal off a free kick that hit off the post. But I've always said, I think Memo's best opportunity to really shine for the Dynamo is the super sub. Let Darwin play those first 60, 70 minutes of the game, and then let Memo come in the last 20, 25 against tired legs. And I'm pretty sure he can, he can outrun a lot of people. He can score the ball. He can cross and dribble against tired legs. And he showed that. He showed that. So, I mean, this might be a new role for for Memo that might help him propel his Dynamo career or continue or make his Dynamo career last longer. I know that you, Sean, obviously you had your heart set on Darwin Quintero being a superstar, but I think flipping it around the other way up until we see what happens with Hector Herrera when he comes in, I think is the best choice for the Dynamo at this moment.
Yeah, I think off the bench when it comes to a creative player. Sorry, I realized my fingers weren't high enough. Creative player for the Dynamo off the bench. I think right now he's that player. But even Memo coming in, yes, he played a decent shift, and he had the one free kick opportunity. There were plenty of other opportunities where it was very clear that he was not on the same page with the rest of the players, and I don't get that. When you've been with this team for as long as he has now, with a lot of these same players for as long as he has, over a season with some players and at least a season with most, and you still can't seem to figure out how to connect with them. That to me tells me that mentally you just don't have what it takes to be that permanent starter. Because a permanent starter is a player who's going to connect. He's going to find chemistry and he's going to make it happen. The free kick was amazing, but really if you take that free kick away outside of a couple of decent passes, really wasn't much else to talk about from Memo. And to be fair, at that point we were kind of more or less nursing a lead, so it was a little less of a frustration point, but it definitely still existed that we didn't create as many chances once he came on as we had created before he came on.
Yeah, obviously you take a lot of pressure off of him to be that creative player, especially when you're given a lead, when he comes in with the lead in hand, and you're basically kind of playing out the game to carry that lead or whatever. But I think, like I said, this might be the start of something new for something better for Memo, and I hope it is. Like I said, it's one of those things where I like the guy. I have no ill will towards him, and I hope he does really well with whatever role he does have with the Dynamo. But obviously, as a starter, we've seen that he's not. I don't want to say not capable, but he really didn't show anything. He had no links. He had no passes. He had no connection with the top three players on top. So it's it's one of those things where it happens, right? But like I said, one player might not be good for starting, the other player might well be. So Sean,
go ahead.
We actually wanted to go and get some questions from the Twitter, from our Twitter space, from our people who follow us on Twitter, and again, thank you guys. Last week we hit over 800 followers on our Generation Orange account. So, it's a round of applause to you guys for following us and all this stuff. But a couple of questions that came through, Sean, I don't know if you want to go by them, and we'll see, we'll answer them. And then obviously, you can answer it as well in the chat, you guys.
I don't have my Twitter up, but you can feel free to read them. That's why I was cluing you, bro.
yeah. I had the Twitter on, but I can
remember the gist of the one from Dago, which was if you could, I believe it was, if you had to get into a bar fight, which 3 Dynamo players would you want by your side? Was that it, Wako? You can let me know if that's not it. I'm pretty sure Dago's not in here, is he? Dang it, Doggo's not in here. Which is more frustrating, Doggo, the fact that we're using your question and you're not here. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, three Dynamo players. Yeah, I realized that, Wako, after I said it.
Okay, I got it.
Go ahead.
So basically, if you the gist of the question is, if you got into a bar fight, which 3 players, including Hector Herrera, would you want to have with you, for that bar fight? Sean, I'll let you answer first.
Look, Darwin Quintero is my first, because that dude looks like he would mug a fool if you're not careful. I think that I would have to go Tim Parker, because he is just absolutely a wrecker. And then I'm going to go with, and actually it's really funny that George says Clark, because I'm going to go with Steve Clark as well. I don't know if y'all saw the fit that he had on Saturday for the match. But if that dude is up in a bar fight, I feel like he can hold his own. You can't wear a cowboy hat and boots like that and that fit and not have at least a little something, be packing a little something. Let's put it that way.
Let me go over some of the guys are saying, Julio in the chat says Parker, Seren, and Teenage. Jake says Parker, Clark, and Seren. Big George says same George. I guess the two Georges agree, and they have Parker, Clark, and Coco. But yeah, man, I think for me would be Clark would be one of them for sure. Seren, because Salvadorans are born with a machete alongside of them already, so have a machete ready for anything that needs to be going down with or whatever. So you have that ready. Who would be my third guy?
I got you, Jake. We'll do that one right after this.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I'm gonna say, yeah, you know what? I'll go with Tim Parker. He's supposed to be our anchor. So I would hope he would be a tough guy outside of the pitch. So we'll see what happens. So I'll take those three. I'll take Seren, Clark, and Parker. I think you see Teenage on there. You see Coco. So I think everybody pretty much has the same 3 or 4 players that they would take as far as the bar fight goes on. One of the other questions before we get to the dash question that Jake has on the chat is, do you think Sebas will score? Now, I don't know if he was asking the whole season or this upcoming game.
I hope he's not asking for the whole season. That's rough.
So we're gonna say this upcoming game, and then we'll go back. Well, we obviously got to go over our predictions and our bold predictions before we get to our guest for today. But yeah, Sean, do you think Sebas scores this game?
No, I don't.
This upcoming game,
not against Colorado. I don't.
Not against Colorado. I'm gonna say yes. You know what? I think it's funny because you mentioned that you gave Sebas your worst player of the game or whatever, and shout out to to Big Ben, our guy, who gave out the man of the match to our Darwin Quintero. I forgot to mention that earlier in the show. But yeah, man, I think Sebas scores this game. I think at some points, the reason why he seemed kind of slow, kind of out of sync is I think he was pressuring himself too much. He's trying to get that first goal out the way, and get that and just get that monkey off his back. And I think that once he gets that first goal in, I think it's going to be liftoff after that, and I think he's going to go on a tear. But we'll see. We just got to get that first one out the way. I missed Jake's question here on the chat.
Which 3 dash players would you take in a bar fight? You want me to start, right? You want me to start?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. So I'm taking Maria Sanchez. I'm taking Rachel Daly because I don't care who you are. You are Rachel. You know what? I'm not taking Bombi. I'm not taking Maria Sanchez. I'm taking Rachel Daly because that girl will fight, no question. Annika Schmidt because holy crap. And then I think my third one would have to be Chapman because that girl is a Wolverine in a tiny little package. And I don't know if you know this, but short chicks, they will F your shit up horribly if you're not careful. So those are my 3.
I'm going to take my girl Daly because, obviously, she's English and I'm pretty sure, you go into an English pub and have a couple mugs try to strike across your head every once in a while. I'm going to say Jane Campbell. I think she just got that like that, where she's just going to pound you and keep pounding you for making the mistake of approaching them. Who would be my third? I want to say Bombi. She looks sweet. So I want to say her. Schmidt, you might have something with Schmidt. But I don't want to have the same ones as you. But you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit left field with this one. I'm gonna say Shea Groom because she's that short girl. I think she'll bite some ankles.
No, that's totally fair. I think there's a number of dash players that I would take, in a bar fight, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I think those girls are down for whenever happens, especially if they're having a good time and somebody interrupts that. But yeah, man, any other questions that you guys might have? Or Sean, any other questions that I might have missed that I didn't see off the Twitter? Because those are only 2 I saw on Twitter. So
I think that's the only 2 I saw as well.
Okay, cool. So let's go back to this prediction. And obviously, we talked about Sebas scoring. Sean, do you have a prediction for this game before we get to our guests and later on here, and obviously our bold prediction and things like that? And what are you expecting out of this match?
I'm gonna go 1-0. Dynamo. 1-0 Dynamo.
Who's supposed to go?
Darwin Quintero.
Oof, man, Darwin's on a hot streak.
Hey, he's about to be in my fantasy lineup when I remember to go do it. By the way, fantasy winner from last week. Thank you very much for the search. That's right. But and by the way, started Darwin Quintero in my league. That's right, started Darwin Quintero because I had faith. Who scores the goal? Great question, Mark. Man, I'm sitting here and I told you Darwin, but the assist comes off a Coco Carasquilla beautiful through ball, and Darwin's just able to easily get it past the keeper. That's what I'm picturing in my head happens.
Nice. Okay, I'll get to your question, Goated. I totally forgot about that one, but thank you for reminding me.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I came close to my prediction last week because I said 3-1 and ended up 2-1. This week I'm gonna say I think the defense wants that clean sheet, so I'm gonna say 2-0 Dynamo, and I think it's gonna be like I said. I mentioned earlier. I think Sebas gets his first goal, so I think Sebas scores. And I want to say we get one of those Matia Vera's blast from outside the box for some reason. So for whatever reason, the ball falls on him and he just blasts it in. So I think Sebas and Matia Vera score those 2 goals. Let's see. Jake here says to Parker and Fafa with the goals. Dynamo Meme says 2-1 loss. Quintero scores. So. Oh man, come on, Memes. He's supposed to be, the one with all the good vibes and everything. I want to see those good winning memes out there on your page. George said 3-1 Dynamo. I'm trying to look. Evanda said 2-1, and for the real men in orange. And Sanford says 2-0 with a Sebas brace. Which hey, I'm all for that. I'm all for Sebas having a brace and all that stuff going on. But just to go back to the fan questions on Twitter, obviously, we try to stick with Dynamo and Dash talk here on the show more often than not. But obviously with Ache being a Dynamo player here in the future, already signed up, we still acknowledge the fact that he is currently playing Champions League football. And they just, congratulations to Atletico Madrid advancing to the quarterfinals by beating Manchester United and Old Trafford. Ache had a fantastic game as far as, defensive and making sure that there was no link up between the midfield and forwards for Manchester United, making it very difficult for those guys to have any kind of chemistry or any kind of poise to score against Atletico Madrid, playing the true Cholo Simeone style of football that, we all know he loves. But yeah, man, great game for him. And a lot of people, obviously, when the news came out that he was coming to MLS and he was coming to Dynamo, it seemed like, people were just starting to doubt him. He's like, and his talent's just washed up on him, He had no talent and he's being washed up. But, obviously this performance against one of the top teams in the Premier League and top teams in Europe overall, hopefully people start to remember a little bit, just because he's coming to MLS doesn't mean he doesn't have the skill level to still compete in Europe. Sean? Yeah,
I made the joke that he's just trying to get himself in shape and ready for coming to the Dynamo for that heavy grind of MLS season. What a better way to do that than being an absolute boss in midfield for your team during UEFA Champions League, right? I mean, go from UEFA Champions League to MLS. Yeah, I feel like he's going to be a great player here. I don't know about you. I'm feeling really great about that signing right now.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, dude, and Steve Sanford says it pretty spot on in the chat. People acting like the dude is 39 or some shit, and it's crazy, man. Like, a lot of players, they have different motivations, different ambitions at different stages of their playing career. Okay. Obviously, when you're young and up and coming, the dream for those who are not playing in Europe is to go over to Europe, play in one of the big 5 leagues, play in European football, play in Champions League, lift a league title, things like that nature. Once you're more established and a player of name, obviously you want to go to a club that has big ambitions, who wants to win international competitions, who are going to put you on the map as far as a player that can be marketed, things like that. And then once you get a little older and you're a little over, over the hump, per se, you want to start, maybe just, looking forward to where maybe your kids are going to grow up at, what environment your kids are going to be exposed to, your family, because one of the benefits about playing in America is that these global superstars are not noticed here. They can go take their kids to school without nobody bugging them. They can go watch a movie with the kids, they can go do this. I mean, and I'm not saying that for every global superstar, because obviously if Cristiano Ronaldo ended up in a Dynamo uniform, Cristiano Ronaldo will have a paparazzi all around him, and things like that, and players all around surrounding, wherever he's at, because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, and that's going to happen wherever he goes. But as far as like other players who are, let's say, not as well known as Cristiano Ronaldo, you come to America where soccer is at best the 4th sport in this country. Hey, you can live a life of luxury and relax and have a good time with the family, because that's what it's all about for a player at an older age. So, hopefully, like I said, he has a lot of ambition to come over here. He wants to create a new chapter, and look, the Dynamo, as much as we love the Dynamo's history isn't that big, isn't that marvelous to say, right? And Ache can do a lot to really sink his name into Dynamo history and become a Dynamo legend. He's a great player for Pachuca when he came up with Pachuca. Great player for Porto when he was captain for them at Porto. So he's wrote his history over there. Done great things at Atletico Madrid. Not as much as you would love to, but that's what it is. But with the Dynamo, he has the opportunity. He's the face of the franchise. Hasn't even stepped foot at PNC Stadium. So there's a lot of pressure coming onto him already. So, and I think the fact that he knows that and he embraces that and he wants to be a part of that just says a lot about his character and what he wants to bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a point earlier that bears repeating, because I think it's very important for this particular player. And that is, you look at players around the world right now and how long their longevity of their careers and how much longer they're playing and how late into their 30s they're playing. Look, Ache is 31, 32. He's got 4 or 5 years left easily. Ronaldo playing at, what is he now? 32, 33, 34, and he's still playing at world-class level. I mean,
Ronaldo's 37.
37. Oh, there you go. Look at Lewandowski. He's getting up there in years, and he's still scoring at a tremendous pace and is still coveted by many teams out there. So, there are plenty of examples where players are playing much later into their careers and playing well. And I believe that we're going to get, maybe not the best of Hector Herrera, but I think we'll be getting very close to his best. And what I think we're going to start seeing at some point, that prime age that we talk about for soccer players, I think we're going to start to see that shift a little later into the careers and later ages, where soccer player careers now are going to continue to kind of get a little bit deeper into the 30s and even closer to the 40s. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like I said, I mean, look, we see what kind of level he's playing against players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Edison Cavani, Marcus Rashford. These are big names. These are big names in the world of football, right? And against Manchester United, and people are questioning whether or not he's going to be able to come over here in MLS and have the same motivation to come play like that. And dude, if he plays like that, or even plays like a third of that, 75% of that, he's going to be one of the top 10 best players in the league, and he knows that. He knows he wants to come make his mark. He has his friends over here. Chicharito has come over here. He's scoring goals here. Carlos Vela has become an MLS legend, LAFC legend, the other guy's name blank me right now, but yeah, I mean, like, look, Mexicans, especially national team Mexican team players, know that they can come over here on this side of the world where they're close to home, and they can make a name for themselves.
Are you
on
talking
this side
about
of the world.
Chicharito?
Well, not really said Chicharito, Chicharito and Carlos Vela. But yeah, man, those guys, they have a unique opportunity where a lot of those guys started their career off in a team in Mexico. They went off to Europe, did the thing in Europe, and now they're able to come back and do the thing in another country, their rival country, and make a big name for themselves. So it's something that, you know, it's ambitious for him as a person, as a player. So I'm all for it. George said Alan Pulido. Yeah, I guess, you know, Alan Pulido did a good job for SKC that one season. You know, now he's just injured, so we'll see what's up with him. But yeah, Sean, I guess I don't know what time we have our guest slated for at 8:30, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I mean, you know, before we get to that, man, you know, anything else you want to say before, you know, we get into anything else?
This podcast has been. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, just joking. You know, I don't really. I do want to quickly shameless plug our planned special guest for next week and a guest appearance. We already know who it is going to be. We are going to have Dynamo Insider on next week, and if you are not following Dynamo Insider on Twitter, you need to do so right this second, because that dude is always dropping valuable hints and transfer rumors and trade rumors, and I mean, he is on it, and I know from, you know, talking to him personally away from Twitter that that guy is busting his butt to build up his reputation as a trusted source, you know, for reliable confirmations of information. And you know, just keep following him. Trust me, there's going to be some stuff out there. No, he's definitely not Trash Jordan. That name shall never be mentioned in this chat again, please. Thank you. But yeah, he will be on the show next week, so tune in for sure next week, starting at 7:30, though he probably won't come on until 8:30. But don't miss the first hour of the show, because we, of course, will do as we always do. We'll recap the Colorado match. We'll preview the match the next week, and we'll talk plenty of other stuff as things happen.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm excited for that because, you know, for those who know me, they know I love my rumors. They know I love the transfer season and stuff like that. So it's going to be very interesting to have a conversation with Dynamo Insider, you know, and see how he got into it, man, to be honest, because, you know, a lot of people, it's a tough world to try to get information from clubs, especially when they're trying to keep things secret, you know, and things like that. So just to kind of see, you know, how one gets into that kind of business and how one decides to continue with that, because it's kind of hard to get people to talk sometimes. So, but we'll see. Yeah, man. So I'm excited for that. But I don't have anything else, man. This show. I mean, honestly, you know, like I know, you know, the Dynamo won. Let's talk about that. The Dash NWSL Challenge Cup opener. Just to give a little shout out to the ladies. I'm sorry, I kind of fumbled that a little bit. But yeah, man, they start March 20th, I believe, is the start date, right? I can't remember the time off the top of my head right now.
Sunday.
That's Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. Oh, that's right. It is Sunday. And if I'm not mistaken, they're playing the Chicago Red Stars to open the NWSL Challenge Cup opener. Bold prediction. Kaylia Watt gets a red card.
She's still playing?
I assume she's still playing. I don't know. I don't keep up with the Chicago Red Stars.
Yes, thank you, Jake. Jake is our resident Dash supporter of Bayou Republic. All that stuff. So I mean, appreciate him always keeping us up to date with the Dash and all that stuff for going on with the ladies. But yeah, against the Red Stars, bold prediction, man. Hat trick for Rachel Daly.
Oh shit,
that's my girl. That's my girl. I want her to start off the ground just running.
I'm gonna give another bold prediction. I'm gonna go 2 bold predictions on this one. So I already said the Kaylia Watt red card. I'm gonna go with Maria Sanchez with a brace and another goal for Annika Schmidt.
Man, Annika Schmidt got a lot of love today.
CB goals, baby. I'm all about them. Let's go.
There you go. So yeah, I'm very excited for the ladies to start the season as well. Hopefully they have a good showing at this Challenge Cup and maybe even bring back the trophy that they won a couple of years back. So hopefully we do that, and I'll be excited to see them, perform and see how they go out. They say Paramount Plus is where you can see it. I guess CBS Sports, I'm guessing some of the games, and big CBS for some of the games as well. George says there's a party at pitch with the girls. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that, but okay. Apparently there's a party at pitch.
Yeah, the way you reacted to that, Mark, you were like, oh, okay, all right. Mark about to drop in, and he gonna be carrying some kegs with him behind him.
Right? Hey, yeah, I still need to get my picture of Rangers Daily.
Oh, hey, look at that. Special guest about to pop in. This one. There we go. What's up, Andres?
What's up, yo?
Dude, that scarf wall is looking clean, bro. That's nice.
Yeah, it only goes all the way up till there. So it's kind of small for my standards, but I had to do what I had to do.
Hey, Sean, I think you got the wrong name on there for him,
Oh, yeah, okay, let me fix that. Sorry, that was from last week, my bad. Man, this dude out here seriously calling me out. I'm trying to sit here, produce the show, direct the show, guide the show, host the show, or co-host the show, also be a speaker, also be a... What else you want me to do, Mark? You can't even handle your Twitter on your own.
I brought that. Well, don't worry. I brought this guy along to help him out because, in case for those who don't know, who Andres is or what he does, Dynamo Foxtrot, follow him at Dynamo Foxtrot on Twitter. Make your plugs, Andres. Make your plugs.
Oh, yeah. I'm mostly active on Twitter at Dynamic Foxtrot. I also have an Instagram account where I sometimes post pictures, also the same handle at Dynamic Foxtrot. And I mostly just work on the No Time podcast, if you've heard of it. It's a podcast I did with Tony Rubio in our spare time, just to talk about Dynamo and Dash and all that good stuff that we all love. And yeah, it's been pretty good so far.
I got you, Andres. It's up there now for you, buddy.
So for those who don't know, Andres currently stays in Austin. He's staying in enemy territory, and Tony's in Dallas, right? So a Dallas and Austin guy talking about the Dynamo.
Yeah.
There you go, man. But let me just ask you this question right off the start, Andres. The Dynamo obviously winning this past week against Vancouver. What are your thoughts about the game and the performances?
Yeah, it was a lineup that should have been the first starting lineup for the first couple of games, and just looking at like how pretty much they played, and just comparing those to the first two games. It's pretty hard for me to even see us succeeding with the midfield pairing between Memo and Seren, since it's not like since they're pretty much not midfielders that can create your plays or just go forward with the ball. And that Sebas or someone else is in the middle to finish that, and that didn't happen. And yeah, like just heading into this game, I was more optimistic only because of the starting lineup. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, Quintero starts, Quintero scores. Even though it's been a thing that I've been calling for almost a year now. Like every time he comes in, he either gets an assist or scores in his own way. And even though he has seen minutes in the first two games, he did not start, and it wasn't enough time for him to make an impact. And he starts and he makes an impact. Scores or braces his first game as a starter in the season. And I was more impressed by Quintero, but also as for Coco, I'm also pretty optimistic about him, since like right now I feel like he has an understanding of how to be more involved in the midfield, and to also like pair with Quintero, which I feel like he has been doing a pretty good job. Even though in the first game I felt like when he came in, you probably remember, but pretty much when he was trying to like make those long passes, he was skying the balls away from the stadium. And I felt like for the most part in the first game he was a little bit disconnected, but then afterwards, when he started in the third game, we definitely see what he could do this season. And yeah, midfield for the most part, it's the the biggest area of concern for me right now, only because defense. I feel like early in the season they have a good idea as to how to start the season, and one of the things, obviously, like a lot of people have been asking, it's how if Steres should be starting over Teenage Adebe, and for me, Steres have been more impressed since like he in the preseason, like he was pretty concerning, like the way he played, and even though he let in a ton of goals, but moving into the season, I felt like he improved upon that.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, I think one of the big differences that we saw on the pitch was just how free flowing and how laid back the guys were playing offensively. You could see Quintero just having a lot of fun out there playing with I feel like he was playing with no pressure. And when when you're able to play like that with no pressure, you're able to do so many great things. And obviously, we saw the great things that he did with his 2 goals and the brace and everything, and just the tear, the pain in the butt that he was giving Vancouver. You mentioned the Teenage Hadabi and Stairs question, which was something we brought up earlier in the chat. So you think Stairs continues to start over Teenage at this point still?
For now, I think so. Although I felt like because of the third game, the Teenage could have potentially had a break over Steres because of the goal. But at the same time, if Steres keeps it up, and depending on what Paulo thinks of Steres and how he's performing, I feel like he can still be a starter for the Colorado game.
For sure. What about Seca?
Seca, I haven't seen a lot of him yet, although we've only seen a few minutes in these last couple of games. Although I feel like even Dorsey is kind of in the same situation that Steres is, even though he, in the sense that preseason, we saw him as a right back, and he didn't perform very well. And also, as well as the first couple of games into the season. But in the third game, I feel like he did a much better job, although I feel like Seca by now, he should be more acclimated to the trainings. He should be acclimated to the team by now. So as long as he has an understanding of the team and how to perform on and off the field, especially in like a new level in Major League Soccer, then I feel like he has a better chance of starting compared to a Teenage over Steres.
Cool. Sean, anything you want to ask on this?
Where's Marcelo Palomino?
Dynamo too, of course. He's gonna get all the minutes there, and yeah, but that's also a good question, and only because we, if you take out Quintero and Coco out of the equation, then we don't have any playmakers, and that's obviously an area of concern, and also an area that I was hoping the team would address heading to the season, because we have our defensive midfielders, but we only have 2 that can just make the plays, And if we ever get into that situation that it comes down to if one of them gets injured, there's definitely the possibility of getting called up to the first team through hardship, like the hardship regulations. That's what they call it, I think. But yeah, it's a pretty good argument. But at the same time, Dynamo 2 is a place where he's gonna get all the minutes.
But to have Memo as your only reinforcement off the bench as far as an offensive midfielder, it's a little concerning because, like you said, I mean, unless an injury happens, that's where Marcelo might get an opportunity. But do you think Memo is that much better than Palomino at this moment where, Palomino can't get some minutes over Memo?
Not really. I feel like Palomino, coming in from last year, he had like a pretty good season with Charlotte Independence, and yeah, like Memo. Obviously, they're different players in the sense that even though they're both midfielders, Memo is more defensive minded compared to Palomino. And just going back to what I said, you take out Quintero and Coco out of the equation, that you don't have anyone to make the plays in the midfield. And even though Memo came in the second half last game, and I felt like he did a pretty decent job, I still think that he should be coming off the bench to support the team, because I feel like that's a better role for him instead of being a starter. And in the case of Quintero, Coco being missing, I feel like that's going to be our best the best approach into the season, since we're not going to sign a midfielder this season, as far as we know, but we just have to see how it goes.
I think we're pretty much linked up on everything on here as far as like the players and who we want to see on the pitch. One of the players that obviously that's been starting right now that I'm having a little bit of concern with is Corey Baird. What are your thoughts on him and how much more opportunity do you think he has? And then especially with the signing of a Brazilian player at the Winho, how much opportunity do you think he gets? And when do we see Pasher, if we see him? And then when does the Brazilian kid get the opportunity?
Baird, he hasn't. For me, Baird hasn't been like much of a highlight so far into the season. Obviously, there's a lot more games ahead of us, but at the same time, early on, I don't feel like he has contributed as much as he should, because he's a starter, and obviously Tanguinho coming in, and also Pasher essentially competing for that spot, because Fafa is going to be the starter on the rights. Obviously, it's something for Baird to take notice, only because there's definitely going to be a case for Tanguinho to start at some point, and as well as Pasher potentially starting this upcoming game against Colorado. And yeah, for me, Baird, he has to find a way to make himself, I like to say, to an extent, provide to the forward line. Like, even though there's that issue that I've noticed in the games, that Sebas, especially for the third game, Sebas, you definitely saw the flashes of his talent. I saw him inside the box. He's making the plays. It was unfortunate that he could have gotten a goal, but unfortunately he didn't. But just looking into the first two games, you could, there's a case of myself getting worried, in the sense that Sebas wasn't really getting serviced, and I feel like Baird could essentially help Sebas in that role. So I feel like it's eventually going to come down to how he's able to service Sebas, as well as the forward line, and how he moves the ball forward in the flank.
For sure. So do you think Pasher gets an opportunity Saturday?
Yeah, for sure.
As a starter or off the bench, as far as first off?
A starter for sure. I can see that happening.
Cool. Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, obviously, we got a little taste of what Tyler Pasher could do for the Dynamo last season before he had all his lower body injuries and all that stuff going on with him. He obviously did enough to where he got called up by the Canadian national team for the Gold Cup. And, right now to be part of the Canadian national team is a big feat in itself. So, I mean, if you have a player with that kind of talent, or capable of that kind of talent, sitting on the bench, you want to utilize that player. And I hope Tyler Pasher gets his opportunity, to show, what he can do, especially because, I know last season me and Sean would go back and forth about, why Tyler Pasher doing so well. And at that time, Fafa doing so bad, and there was a lot of pressure on Fafa to be that go-to player. And that opened it up for Pasher. So hopefully we get something similar like that as well, especially now that we have a DP number 9 in Sebas. So, I mean, anything else you want to add about the last match before we go on to the next match?
Well, for the most part, I said it before, but I just wanted to highlight it again. So far into the season, obviously it's still early, but I've been pretty much happy with how a defense has been performing. Obviously, you have that outlier of what's going to happen with the right back position, if Dorsey's still going to start or Sega's going to take over eventually. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, Stedes and Parker have been doing a pretty good job outside of the first the only 2 goals that they've conceded so far. And yeah, obviously the first goal being kind of unlucky, of Fafa being involved in that play by accident, and also the second one, I feel like it was a silly goal to concede, which can be improved upon. And yeah, I just wanted to highlight defense, because if Steres doesn't work out and TNH eventually takes over his spot, I feel like it can lead to something special in that position. But at the same time, we just have to wait and see. It's too early for me, but at the same time, I'm optimistic. For sure. So looking forward to this Colorado Rapids match, man.
Obviously, Colorado Rapids, had a very great, really good season last year. They made it to CCL they were in the CCL this beginning February. They unfortunately lost in penalties where nobody could make a penalty. But just your thoughts on Colorado, them coming in, and what your prediction is for that game, and do you think the Dynamo can win this game?
Oh yeah, I had Colorado winning MLS Cup last year, but unfortunately they choked on me. But yeah, you saw them last year. You saw how they pretty much neutralized us last year, and since since last year we weren't pretty much playing for anything really, and they pretty much just capitalized on that. But this year obviously is different. This year, I feel like we can put like a pretty good game against them, even though I think I can't remember from the top of my head, but I believe they're missing a couple of key pieces that the Dynamo could potentially take advantage of. But at the same time, I haven't really seen a lot of Colorado Rapids early into the season to put my judgment into the game. But at the same time, as long as the Dynamo stick to their guns, as long as they pretty much pull off what they did against Vancouver, I feel like they have a shot at winning.
Do you think Sebas finally scores his first Dynamo goal?
Yes.
Nice. So what's your prediction on the game?
It's going to be, I think it's going to be a 3-1 Dynamo.
Nice. Bold prediction by any chance? Anything bold?
A pretty bold prediction. Sarek gets a red card for some reason. I don't know.
Oh, no.
That's pretty bold. I know he's not the guy to get red cards, but yeah, that's a bold one. Bold prediction I like to put out.
There you go. Sean, anything you want to add to
it? Not to that topic in particular. I'd like to go back to the Marcelo Palomino thing, actually, for just a second.
Go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Wow. No, I'm just kidding. When it comes to Marcelo, I just wanted to add this. I have to wonder if a little bit of it is playing to the way that you want to, when he's out there, especially like in preseason when he had chances to show. I wonder if maybe he was trying to play to impress coach, and establish why he feels he deserves to be in that spot as a starter or even as a sub. And I have to wonder if maybe trying there comes a point where as a player you have to just play and take away that whole I've got to impress this guy or I've got to impress this coach or I have to and trying to play outside of your strengths and trying to do more than you need to do. I just wonder if maybe there's a little bit involved in that, and maybe because at this point we've been talking about Marcelo now for 3 seasons, and every season he's ended up loaned out somewhere else. This year obviously to Dynados, but it just feels like that's a player who continues to perform elsewhere, but can't seem to find the minutes here to find a spot to play in. And for my money, I almost would rather, and I think to Mark's point earlier, I would rather see Marcelo on the pitch in a sub role, at least for part of the season, over Memo constantly. Because I just think that's and you said it, Andres, as well. That's another player that provides creativity that could be sitting on that bench by the end of the season. So I just wanted to add that into the Marcelo conversation, because I think we tend to forget about that little piece of it when it comes to, coaches are the ones who ultimately make the decision. Technical staff make the decision as far as, which players are going to be, available on the senior team roster. And it just seems like to me that he showed that he was a decent player in preseason when he had the opportunities, but I do feel like he was trying to do too much. If you kind of go back and think through, he just was trying to do too much and to be too much in those situations instead of just playing maybe the way that Paolo wants him to play.
See, but I think that's where I go back and question sometimes, because obviously we see how this match played out with having an actual 10 and Darwin Quintero playing and able to distribute and able to create and facilitate on the pitch, right? So if you have that, but obviously given his age and whatever, and you want to keep him healthy for a long period of stretch for the whole season, obviously, when you take him off, you would want to bring in somebody of like skill set, and Memo doesn't have that. he's not a true 10. You know, we've seen that in the first 2 games, obviously, and we've seen that throughout his career. You know, he's an 8, a natural 8, a box to box, you know, who's willing to shoot from outside the box and things like that as well. And he's had a lot of opportunities because, you know, you had players around him like Albert Elise, Kyoto, Otto Manotas, you know, who a lot of teams focused on them and allowed a player like him to be open. So that's where I come in and think, well, why isn't Palomino getting the backup minutes then? Why wouldn't he be on the bench at least to be able to have that opportunity? Because let's say, for example, if the game was not 2-1 and the game was 1-1 and you're at home, you should always be trying to get 3 points. You shouldn't be going for ties. You should be going for 3 points. You literally have nobody on the bench who can produce offensively or be as creative in the same sense like Darwin Quintero was. But you can't run Darwin Quintero into the ground. You can't run him for 90 minutes because he's not fit like that yet. So you don't even give the kid an opportunity by being on the match day 18. Your thoughts on that, Andres?
Oh yeah, I think Palomino definitely deserves a shot at least being a backup at this point, even though we all know that he's going to get all the minutes in Dynamo 2. At the same time, we don't really have anyone else to create the plays in midfield. So it's definitely a great idea to just start putting him in on the field in the second half, just to pretty much get acclimated into the league at this point, because he's already proven himself to stay composed and create in a professional level like he did last year. And so yeah, it's pretty concerning that he concerning to an extent that he pretty much has to stay in the second feeder team, or essentially staying loaned out of the first team, while we still have these issues and concerns in regards to who's going to create the plays in midfield and what's going to happen if Coco or Quintero are missed.
Yeah, and I think that's my thought as a fan from looking at the outside. And obviously, you know, the coach knows better, the staff knows what they're doing, and you know, we want to give them all the benefit of the doubt that they're going to try to do the best they can to go for the win. You know, because we know in MLS here, racking up points, especially early in the season, helps you gain that momentum, and it helps you alongside the battle, obviously, of trying to make a playoff push here. That is something that the Dynamo have been trying to do for the last 5 years at least. But I mean, honestly, I need more creative players on the bench. You know, honestly, if you look at the bench, the only creative player we have is Pasher, but Pasher's a winger. You know, there's just really nobody else on there. So that's the only thing that worries me, because, you know, if you just have him on the bench and he doesn't play, then you go send him to Dynamo and he goes plays and gets his fitness in and whatever. I mean, that's the whole reason of the MLS Next a team or the U23 squad that we have. You know, it's for those players who are not necessarily getting on the pitch to still be able to go get match minutes and get fitness in. So that's what we're hoping that happens. But yeah, well, we'll see, man. We'll see what happens.
Regardless, yeah. I think there's one important thing here too, and that is Marcelo can only do what he can do, right? He can only perform given the opportunities he's given. So he's given an opportunity with Charlotte last year. He went and performed. He played very well. He had some spectacular goals. He had some good timely goals. He had some good plays, plenty of assists. Well, not plenty of assists, but good assists. So now he's got a chance with Dynamo. He's doing the same thing. Obviously, we saw it just last week or on Sunday. He scored the goal. So I look at it and I say, okay, maybe this is his opportunity to prove to Paolo that, hey, I'm good enough. Now you need to call me up, to Andres' point. You know, now you need to call me up. And maybe that happens around the midpoint of the season. You know, maybe when Hector comes in, maybe there's a trade to be made where Palomino can come in and be on the bench. And maybe we are able to get rid of a different central midfielder in exchange, kind of thing, to open up that spot. I mean, there's lots of options there, obviously, but I do think it's important that we remember that, hey, this is Palomino's chance to prove to Paolo that he wants to be in that position. He wants to be that starter, and he wants to be that guy that Paolo can trust in that position to make those plays and do the things that Paolo needs him to do. And I feel like to some extent Dyna doses that opportunity. It's like it's almost like his trial, if you will, which is a much better trial in my opinion than what he got with Charlotte. That's for sure.
For sure. So at least we know who he's better than USL level. But with that being said, Andres, there was another question that was asked on Twitter, and we didn't get to this question when we were answering the fan questions because I kind of wanted to save it when we had our guest on. But obviously we saw how great the formation that and the players that played this past Saturday had going. So let's say that this safe formation stays and the players are playing well all the way up until when Hector comes in. Where does Hector fit in? If the Dynamo is doing really well, they're winning games and things of that nature. Where does Hector fit in?
Hector Herrera or who?
Yeah, Herrera. Where do you put him in? If Quintero is scoring goals and Coco's providing the assist and facilitating the ball, and Vera's doing a great job as a 6, where does Herrera go?
Well, that's a pretty good question. I would say it's pretty theoretical because you have to assume that everything goes right and that Herrera is pretty much ready to play as soon as possible. And it also depends on the situation. Well, in our situation, by the time we're in July, if we have all the players healthy and if the formation stays the same as well as the lineups. And yeah, if assuming that the team is successful, I feel like it's pretty hard for us to say no to Herrera only because he's Herrera, and we've pretty much had the closest player that we had at a peak. I don't think it comes even close. You can say, for an extent, you can say Beasley, even though he reached an age, but like just in compare those kinds of players, like we're pretty much receiving a player that still starts in Champions League and he puts out performances every week. And in the situation that it comes down to make tough decisions to swap someone in, to swap someone out for Hector Herrera, it will be pretty difficult, but at the same time understandable since Hector's going to be a really useful piece, especially going to this past couple of years.
Yeah, man.
So basically, hold on, wait. Basically, he didn't even answer the question. He just beat around it. Never once actually said who he's going to replace, which is fine. I get it. But the question was, who does Hector Herrera replace? So the question, Andres, is who does Hector Herrera replace?
So I feel like if he swaps two instead of two offensive-minded midfielders, he's gonna go with one being Quintero, and then he will swap out Coco. So that way we can play with Vera and Hector.
But then that comes to the point where then why would Coco want to extend with Dynamo or stay with Dynamo if he's not going to even starter minutes? Because we see what Coco's able to do. We see what kind of player Coco is. He's a great Panamanian player. Hopefully he gets the opportunity to qualify for the World Cup, and things of that nature. I don't know. I would have a hard time with that one. Especially if Coco's playing a lot better than what he played this past Saturday. Even though it is Hector Herrera, I don't know if Coco, we just take out Coco like that. Obviously if Coco doesn't, if the Dynamo don't extend Coco, then obviously that makes it a simple. Okay, then you put Herrera for Coco's spot. But if the Dynamo are really truly trying to make the quality of the team better, I don't understand how you make it better by not bringing back Coco. Sean, do you have an answer to this question? Did you want to maybe try to take a crack at it before I give you my answer?
Sure. For me, I think Andres actually hits the nail on the head, but I think there's a caveat to that, right? So it's Hector Herrera, it's Vera in the back in a 4-2-3-1 kind of formation almost. Instead of a 4-3-3 kind of natural formation with Quintero pushed up higher, or even to some extent Coco pushed up higher as a true kind of more of attacking mid. There's a caveat to that, though. I think that's what we see on road matches. I think in home matches, though, I think we still see two kind of higher up attacking mids, and I think that probably does end up actually more likely being Coco and Quintero, and then Hector Herrera kind of being that floater in midfield to just help kill off opportunities on the counterattack. So it's definitely an interesting question, which is why I wanted you, Andres, to actually answer it instead of just diplomatically beating around the bush and trying to avoid it. But you know, it's a tough one to answer. I agree with you, but I do think there is going to be a difference we'll see in terms of the approach on the road versus at home.
And X Primos on the chat says, you know, but to me, rotations are more than welcome. Yeah, obviously, yeah, rotations are always, you always want to rotate your players, but the pride of a player, especially, you know, somebody that thinks that they're coming in to start and be the face of the franchise, and or to be in Coco's spot, where if I decide to, hey, extend my stay with the Dynamo, or, you know, whatever, or the Dynamo decide to pick up my purchase option, you know, then I'm coming in, I'm like, yo, I'm about to get into the prime of my career. You know, you see what I can do, you know, and you're gonna pick this guy over me when up to this point, I've helped the team get to this point, to this level, if the team is doing well, obviously, right? So, you know, it's a player pride sometimes, and that's why you, as a coach, you have to understand how to deal with egos and personalities and characters and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, to go a little bit on the lines what Sean was saying, you know, I would just have to change the formation. You know, that's where you differentiate the really good coaches and the subpar head coaches, right? Coach who's only wanting to stick to one formation and not really change things up is somebody who can be easily be challenged, especially when they're going up against an experienced coach that knows how to you know, defeat that tactical whatever tactics they're trying to do. So, you know, from my standpoint, I would go get away from that 4-3-3 and go for a 4-2-3-1, like Sean was saying, you know, with Vera and Herrera playing the more defensive backs, the more defensive mids, and then you have the three attacking mids, which would be Fafa and Coco on the wings, and then Darwin as a 10, and then Sebas up top at the 9. And, you know, and if we're going to really change some things up to make it a little bit more offensive or more happy flowing at home, and, you know, then a 4-4-1-1, you know, with you know, with the four midfielders, and then I'm sorry, not the 4-4-1-1. I just had it in my head right now. A 3-5-1-1, whatever. With three in the back, you know, why not play three in the back at home? You know, especially if your center backs are doing really well. Parker is finally solidifying himself as that captain, that leader, you know, that we all thought he would. Lundy always obviously being Lundy, and then, you know, obviously Seca being Seca, and then Teenage, you know, obviously our DP defender. I mean, you spend this money on this back four, back three, you know, why couldn't they? Should be able to defend, you know, and be able to change formation. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, I mean, I know coaches are sometimes stubborn and they want to keep with the same formation, that they always want to go and they want to be attack minded or, you know, whatever. Because, you know, I know back in the days when I was growing up, the 4-4-2 was, you know, kind of everybody's style. And then all of a sudden now, obviously, because the game is more open, more free flowing, it's the 4-3-3. But I mean, for those who are able to find out different tactical advantages and different formations, you can really open up the midfield and really be able to attack if you have the right players in place. And I think 4-2-3-1 would be excellent for the Dynamo, especially if the team is doing really well.
I think, Andres, it's probably about time for you to share your socials and your show again, and probably time to wrap it up all nice and neat there,
for sure.
Mark.
Oh yeah, of course. And first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been a rough couple of weeks for Tony and I to record, since obviously outside life stuff going on, and yeah, like I mentioned before, I'm mostly active on Twitter at Dynamic Foxtrot. Also have an Instagram account, same handle at Dynamic Foxtrot, and I produce a podcast called Noodle Time, which we always talk about all kinds of Dynamo shenanigans, and we love it.
Oh man, you know, obviously, Andres, we appreciate you, you know, giving us time to come on here, you know, and I know not just myself and Sean, but I know everybody on the chat always love to see the Fox gifts that you put on there on Twitter and stuff like that, especially the ones that say Dynamo win or Dash win on there, because, you know, those I know come very few and far apart from each other. So, yeah. You know, we appreciate all the content that you put on there, because it's really good content for those guys. Like you said, you know, check out Noodle Time when those guys get on there. I'm still waiting on my follow back, by the way, Andres. on Twitter, you know, so, all that. But guys, like I said, every Wednesday from 7:30 to 9, we try to get here weekly. We're going to have international break coming up here pretty soon. So I'm not sure about next Wednesday's show. But if we are here, we will be here 7:30 to 9. But if we're not, it's because we're having an international break, just like the Dynamo will be having. But with that being said, guys, until Hector Herrera gets up here, 2 H's like always. So thank you.
Always.
Love, you move too fast for me. Can catch up with the thoughts in your mind. They're everywhere, and it's hard for me to bear. 'Cause I get so lost, feel just like a boomerang. 'Cause you change your plans every day, and you don't seem to care what I think or how it affects me. Since I lay my eyes on you, my baby, I just wanna make your dreams come true, my lady. If you're low, I'll lift you up. Just let me know when it gets tough. Do you feel the way I do, my baby? Do you see me like I see you, my lady? I love you, but I don't need you. I only want true love, true love. For you.